and it was told of a certain potter. Chapter 6. The power of silence, the clarity that meditation brings. One day when Abdullah and Jethro were seated at their work, two men came along the way, madly gesticulating and arguing. There was strife and hatred manifested in their voices, and revenge gleamed through their eyes. But, looking in through the open gate and seeing Abdullah, they paused, then entered the court at his beckoning. But immediately they entered, they began to arguing again, and both at the same instant tried to place his case before Abdullah. Peace, peace, my brethren. Why this dissension? Know ye not the power of silence? No, said one of the two in a surly voice. But we would, rejoined the other. They sat down on the rugs which Jethro offered, and waited for Abdullah to speak. You, Haja and Caspar, are Christian men, and have read much in the sacred scrolls, and well call to mind it is written that the blessed Savior was laid to rest in the tomb, and how a massive stone was placed at its mouth, and a guard put over it, and what happened in the silence of the tomb. Jesus, the Christ, worked out the solution to the material lie called death. He proved it to be nothing but a belief, and something to be overcome. But note that he did this in the silence. In the silence, he went back to the real cause of man and listened for the guiding voice of truth, listened for the word, which spake, and it was done. Could he have heard this word in the hubbub of material wrangling? Was not this the power of silence? To the mortal sense, silence may seem like death. Yet how often is the ugly grub of thought changing form and working out his problem in silence, and at the appointed time he breaks the material law of limitation and floats off in a freedom before unknown. God pervades the silence, and it is only in the silence that we can hear the voice of the great omnipotent guide. But Abdullah, interrupted one of the men, how can we feel the power of silence in our own work? By being still, by quieting the material senses, one after another, and withdrawing into the secret place of the Most High. And after you have shut off every material clamoring, you can then hear the still, small voice, which says, "Peace be still to all that is unlike God, good." This still, small voice was the voice that spoke, and it was done. And it is the voice which said, "Let there be light," understanding, and mortal chaos and darkness faded away. But when I would enter the secret place of the Most High, said Haja, a million little voices clamor for admittance, first one thing and then another, and I cannot enter the silence of which you speak. It is good to remember, said Abdullah. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door of his mind, I will come in to him and will sup with him and he with me. At the same time, evil is knocking for admittance. The Christ is also standing waiting to be let in to sup with you. Which will you admit? To which will you give the most power? Does not the very thought that Christ is standing there, knocking, put to flight all evil and sinful thoughts, for they cannot live in his pure presence? Then, brethren, before you argue and dissent about a question, and become angry and hate one another, just step into the closet of your consciousness and shut the door on all material voices and listen to this wonderful voice which will guide you. Right? Don't quibble with yourself mentally and wear yourself out with your arguments, either audible or silent arguments, but be firm and know that God is the source of your intelligence and that right must prevail. Then when you have received your guidance, you can issue forth from your closet, clad with a newness of spirit and love and righteous judgment. For my brethren, you only want what is absolutely right. And when you know that the law of right is ever operative, how can else come to pass? What is so impressive as silence, and what carries with it so much dignity? It is the very essence of self-control and authority. And what is more pitiful than a man overcome of his anger? The noisy breakers beat against the shores in vain. They only carry with them destruction, but the mighty silent depth of the ocean carries a fleet on its bosom. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and listen for the underlying melody that permits all silence. It is the melody of life. It is the power that leads beside still waters and green pastures. End of chapter. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your likes, shares, and comments.